Time for another Q&A. We are in Cairns, Australia, and we want to do a Q&A with you guys. We keep just, when you're sending in questions, we just pile them up in a note as far as we can. We can't really get to all questions, but we'll try our best to answer your questions, whatever they are, coming from wherever source they come from, like this video or that video, and we just pile them up in a Word document. And now we're just going to sit down and we're going to answer some questions from the last few months. So first question, Johnny Boy 23 1000. Can you make a video explaining why not to eat bread? Okay, so bread. Why not to eat bread? Well, if you're got nothing but bread, but that's not a case for anyone. Everyone can eat something else than bread. But of course, if you're dying and bread is all you got, bread is going to keep you alive. So it's not that something is right or wrong. It's just that things have consequences that are either beneficial for our health or not so beneficial. And when it comes to bread, there's several negative things about it. To keep it simple, grains tend to be one of the less ideal foods for humans. They contain quite a lot of anti-nutrients. They can have in their whole form fiber that is quite irritating to our intestinal system. They lack in certain vital nutrients that we need, a little bit.
They're also quite dry. There's not much water in them.
Yeah, so in general, grains, they're just not ideal human foods. They're more like bird food, They're for birds. Grains, they grow on grasses. Imagine go out and collect grains in the wild. It would take a lot of time to get enough calories. And it wouldn't be that delicious either. It's quite tasteless in its natural state. That's why we mix it with things when we're eating it, right? But of course, compared to like animal foods and high-fat foods and processed foods, grains are actually quite good. They're higher up than, say, meat and dairy. You're much better off living on grains, okay? They're high in carbohydrate, they give you the fuel you need. So, it's kind of like, it's an okay food, it's just not an ideal food. Now that's grains, but then bread is another deal altogether. Because when you make bread, you process the grains further to make flour, and then you cook it further. When you cook it, it becomes very dry. And when you're eating something that's very dry, it will become dehydrated, and you need to drink water to make up for that. So bread tends to make you dehydrated, essentially. It's very difficult to stay hydrated on a bread diet. It's also very concentrated. Very concentrated. How many calories per 100 grams of bread usually?
Oh, that's difficult to say, but at least 100 grams of flour is 360 calories.
Yeah. So imagine then 700 calories, which is like a medium-sized meal.
It's just going to be small.
200 grams.
Yeah. Another problem about bread is that when you cook bread in the oven or bake it, you create acrylamides and other damaging toxins when the bread is exposed to high heat. That's carcinogenic for us, and over time it will accumulate and really create some serious problems in our health.
Potentially cancer and things like that. So bread, not the best, not the worst. Grains, a little bit better, like eating them in the form of like rice or something like that, probably better than gluten grains. Gluten is another problem with most breads. Okay, enough talk about bread. Better to eat fruit, and if you're eating cooked food, just eat like potatoes and roots and sweet potatoes and pumpkins and more like whole foods than something like bread.
So Stuart Weisman says, for the next Q&A, could you share your opinion on water fasting? Well, that's a big topic.
Simply put, I think personally that I know from experience that when I get sick, like a fever or something like that, I sort of lose my appetite. You feel the same?
Instantly when fever hits me, my appetite goes away.
Yeah. So fasting is really a natural response. When you're fasting, you are not using your digestive system. It's not a problem nutrition-wise. You get lots of reserves you can run for weeks usually. Some people months, some people even years on fat reserves if you're really fat, So by fasting, we are now resting our digestive system and running on reserves. This is a way to conserve energy when the body is working to heal something. Now the question is, so yes, if you're sick, naturally fasting, that's cool. That's what it is. That's what animals do in nature. If they're sick or injured, they naturally just fast. In terms of like doing a fast, as a consciously planning to do a fast, doing a water fast, I think it can be beneficial. You know, it can definitely be a lot of healing that happens when you truly rest. It's just like saying, today I'm going to rest, today I'm going to chill out. But you know, with a fast, you really chill out, because you're now also resting that digestive system, which takes a lot of nervous system energy. It means you can do healing at a faster rate. So that's powerful. Should you be water fasting once a week? I don't think so. Should you be water fasting once a month? I don't think so. You don't want to get into... Essentially, water fasting is under eating, obviously, and you don't want to have that as part of your natural everyday life. You want to keep your life going normally, having the energy you need, sleep. When you're sleeping, you are essentially fasting, but it's not exactly the same, because it takes a few days to get into the true fasting state when the real healing occurs.
Another problem about fasting like once a week is that you kind of mess up your digestion a bit. Suddenly your body is used, your body is used to getting 3 meals a day or whatever, and then suddenly it doesn't, and the peristaltic activity gets messed up, and
and then you have to eat more the day before and less, and more the day after to make up for the caloric deficit, unless you're going to lose weight, which is sometimes not desirable. Plus, fasting for 1 day, it's not really all that powerful, to be honest. It's not even a true fast. Fasting once a year, though, for a week, oh, maybe that's a good idea. Could be. Or maybe once every 7 years you do a long fast, or once a lifetime, I don't know. Maybe you never have to do it if you just live healthfully and allow yourself enough rest and enough sleep all the time. Your body may be able to heal without a fast. Or maybe you actually have to get into some deep healing with a fast. You have to make up your mind yourself, essentially, but I don't recommend just like being obsessed with fasting like some people are. I'd rather just be obsessed with health and natural living and just doing it the way it's supposed to do. Eat every day, sleep, rest, play, all these things. And then fasting could be like a healing modality that we might employ like once every now and then, or if it's necessary.
Yeah. Also, if you're going to do a long fast, it's probably, in my opinion, a good idea to do it with someone who knows how fasting goes.
Yeah.
I don't really recommend fasting at home without any prior knowledge to it, because situations can happen where you're afraid of what's going on and you need some
guidance.
Yeah,
it's not that someone is gonna do anything for you other than guide you. They might be able to just reassure you that what's going on now is perfectly normal, or no, what is going on with you now is not perfectly normal. You probably should end the fast. So having someone with experience is probably a good idea. And just at the end here, I just want to mention that I don't think fasting is dangerous. It's a perfectly natural thing. We have an adaptation mechanism. When we stop eating, we start going into fat metabolism, also known as ketosis, and we start burning fat for fuel. It's not a situation where we're suddenly starving ourselves. Starvation happens long after we initiate a fast, when we start running out of reserves. That's when we start consuming our muscles, and eventually that's when we start consuming our vital organs. And that's a state of starvation. That's not the same as a water fast, for those people out there who didn't know.
So Quinlandis Wallace asks, who was first in the raw vegan lifestyle of us? Basically, we almost started together. But you were kind of more of the person who started it, like.
Yeah, I remember reading more about it and being sort of maybe more aggressive towards like making the change or doing something. But you were also on the same page. We were both sort of flowing at the same time. So I'd say at the same time, kind of. Mm-hmm. But if anything, maybe I was a little bit ahead of you.
Yeah, I remember there's one occasion where we'd started cutting out all kinds of stuff from our diet, and then we were at home, and you said like, bread. It's not really a good thing to be eating. And I was like, oh shit. No, the bread is gonna go as well. Not because that's not allowed, but I realized that we've gone down this path before, and when we start seeing that something really isn't healthy, it just falls away from us.
Yeah.
And I was really attached to bread.
Yeah, bread is always something that people tend to be very attached to. It's very addictive, and just very safe. You know, we're used to growing up with bread, so it's a safe caloric source for us. We can rely on it. And that's why mentally it's very addictive. He also asks, how did you guys start traveling together? Do you do everything together? I asked because I have a little brother who is starting to go vegan. We started traveling together when we were like, we turned raw vegan, we were onto the fruit, and then we realized, where's the fruit?
Pretty much.
We were in Norway.
We went to Thailand first.
Yeah, well, we realized, where's the fruit? We gotta do something, we gotta go, let's go to the tropics, we headed to Thailand.
Yeah. And after that we've been traveling a lot together.
So essentially that's how we started traveling together. We wanted to do the same thing, we wanted to health, we wanted adventure. We were like, let's do it, you know, let's travel together, it's the perfect match, you know, two brothers. Can't get better than that. And do you do everything together? No, not everything, but 70%.
Most people would say yes.
Yeah.
We do, like, most of our day is together.
Yeah, pretty much. But we have our own little activities that we might do at the same time but differently, or you know, we might separate a few times during the day and doing a little bit of different things. And sometimes we have periods where we might do different things over the course of a few weeks, or I might go somewhere else and you might go somewhere else, and we might, yeah. But most of the time we flow very well together. Even though we're both doing slightly different things, we're pretty comfortable being in the same room and being in the same, doing the same thing, and sort of we're like best friends. So we're essentially just doing everything together, and it's awesome. Alright, next up, Nick C. Love the deep diving. What gets you guys most inspired? Love, gratitude, and blessings. Most inspired? That always changes. Like, I'm inspired about different things at different times, but essentially YouTube is a very inspirational source. But that's just the medium for which inspiration can come through. Essentially, I'm inspired by awesomeness, by people who follow their passion, people who do what they love, people who go at it and work hard, not as in work hard with something they hate, but work hard with something they love.
Yeah, seeing passion in other people makes me passionate for sure.
Yeah. It doesn't matter if it's capitalism, if it's money making, or if it's bodybuilding, or if it's painting or music, or just plain out whatever, you know, movies, anything. When people are interested in something and they're passionate about something and they pursue it, that inspires me a lot.
Mm-hmm. So Joe Vegan asks, from what I've experienced while transitioning to a raw, is that the environment has a major impact on how easy it is to be raw in the early days. I'm currently living in an industrial city in China. Do you have any tips to make the transition easier for someone who lives in a place so far removed from nature?
Yeah, I think that it is more difficult when you're far removed from nature, but of course nature in the sense of trees and plants and stuff, but of course the city is still nature. And I think you can find a lot of inspiration even though you're in the city if you start looking at everything as part of the greater flow. That would be one thing, but yes, I would say immerse yourself with books, with YouTube videos, with documentaries, with thoughts. Immerse yourself in a world about whatever you're inspired about. And if you're trying to be raw and you're transitioning to raw, just get into everything that has to do with nutrition, biochemistry, anatomy, probably working out. I don't know if you do that, but if you do any kind of sports, you'll automatically get more interested in how the body works and what you're eating and those kind of things. And so yeah, just immerse yourself with the information and the visions of what it is you want to achieve. And that way you'll have an easier way transitioning to it. Be Beautiful, Be Vegan says, hey guys, really interesting videos. What are your thoughts on using metal, ceramic or wooden cutlery?
That depends on your preference. I don't think it has any impact on health.
I think it does. I think maybe metal cutlery has a problematic. I'm not sure. I haven't looked into it, but I have a sense that it is. So
Okay.
you don't think so?
I don't think so. No.
That's cool. It's possible. It's not a problem.
Hmm.
I personally probably am biased. I like the wooden cutlery a lot. I have a wooden spoon. I just love the feeling of eating with a wooden spoon. It also has to do with I associate it with natural, like a wooden spoon. Whereas you like to use
I
metal.
like
So.
metal.
Yeah.
It's really just down to your preference. Unless you know more about this than we do.
Yeah. If you do, then please post some information down below so we can get educated about it.
Yeah.
Ceramic knives, they tend to be pretty nice, but then again, they sort of chip off sometimes.
Yeah,
They're a
they
bit
can be a bit
scary.
scary.
I'd rather just have a solid steel knife, I think. But yeah, maybe you can educate us about that.
So Delius29 asks, I've been on all fruit for a month, and you guys have been such an inspiration in this journey. Thank you so much. It's very cool to hear. She also asks, I've got a question.
Or he.
Or he, yeah. What do you do about treatment/prevention of insect bites?
That's a good question.
That depends on the insect bite,
Yeah.
for sure. Mosquitoes, I don't do anything. I just try not to itch.
Yeah. The thing that you put on your skin against mosquitoes, I think that's worse than getting mosquito bites. Not only because it's boring to put it on your skin, but it's damaging to your skin. It's toxic to your skin. Those DEET, is that what it's called? DEET. That's such a toxic product. You don't want to put that on your skin.
No.
I'd rather get malaria than get that
Yeah.
on a consistent basis, So we avoid that. We had a period where we experimented with citronella oil and lavender oil and just oil in general, and that was just putting that on my skin in the tropical heat. That was like, ugh.
Terrible.
Yeah, so we stopped doing that. We tried it with spirals, burning spirals. That maybe helped a little bit, maybe not.
Hmm.
But then you breathe the terrible air.
Yeah. But then again, when it comes to insect bites, as I said, it depends on the bite. If I get stung by a venomous spider, and I know that this is poisonous, I'm going to die if I don't get, a shot of something at the doctor, I'm going to get a anti-venom.
Yeah, definitely.
Sure.
But that's more like treatment, I guess, of the insect bite. But in terms of prevention, we don't do anything. We stopped doing all those little techniques against mosquitoes because they're pretty ineffective and boring.
And most insect bites are harmless.
Yeah.
Even nasty stuff like botflies. If you don't know what botfly is, I suggest you don't check it up. It's nature. It
Yeah.
happens.
It happens.
It's
just
alright. It's just skin.
Yeah. If you're scared of malaria and things like that, I understand, but I don't think it's necessary to be that scared. We got an ebook about traveling that we're launching in a few weeks, and I'll be dealing with the topic in the ebook there. So if you want to know about that, you can buy that. But in general, I'm just saying, don't worry too much about it. It's a bit hyped. It's a bit out of proportion, the fear surrounding malaria and dengue. Just do your best to, I guess, avoid exposure to mosquito areas. That's because it's very local sometimes. There can be mosquitoes over there, but 200 meters away, there's no mosquitoes. So think about that, and think about your clothing a little bit. And because they like dark blue clothing is possibly the worst I've heard for mosquitoes. So Eric J asks, what are your thoughts on colonics? Would they be helpful in transitioning from an unhealthy lifestyle in the past to fruitarianism? I'd say no. They would not be helpful. They would be detrimental. I don't see why we should need colonics. I mean, if you shift your diet from a constipating, unhealthy, toxic diet towards a fruit-based, high fiber, high water, high nutrient, low toxicity diet like a fruit diet, and you start eating that and you start sleeping enough and living healthy and getting enough sunshine and just living a healthy life, your constipation is going to go away. Your bowels will start moving again. And if there's any damage, it will probably heal over time, and there's no need to sort of do anything radical like shoving water up your ass. I mean, it is such an unnatural thing to do.
It's pretty strange.
Yeah. by flushing your colon with water, you will actually flush out your bacteria. And we need bacterial flora in our intestines, including our colon. So ideally, we don't want to do that. We don't want to flush anything out. And the whole mentality around flushing out our colons, drinking lots of water to flush out, drinking these kind of juices or cayenne pepper or whatever people do, cleanses to kind of flush out. There's no need to flush out anything. Our body flushes out toxins and has been doing that for millions of years. Every animal in nature does that. Waste excretion is just a part of natural, normal physiology. There's no need to be smarter than nature and we need to flush out our colon. No, if there's something to be flushed out of our colon, it'll be flushed out. That's how our body works, Everything it needs it takes in, and what it doesn't need it excretes. So let's just trust nature. Let's eat, put food and water into our mouth, and just avoid tampering with that other end of our body, and just leave it to do its own thing. Yeah. Do you agree?
Yeah.
Yeah. One more thing is that the colonic mentality is sort of like doing colonic to make up for bad habits, and then you keep doing bad habits, and then you keep doing colonics to make up for it. That's probably not a good strategy. That's kind of exactly like the binge purge mentality, where you binge on something unhealthy and then you purge yourself from it so that you can binge on it again, and it's just like that. Change your lifestyle fundamentally, get healthy, get on the healthy path, and you won't have a need to do things, or a supposed need, like colonics.
So I think that's enough questions for today. We'll probably make another video in not too long.
Yeah.
We have more questions, and you guys can keep posting them down below, and we'll try to include them in our next video.
Yeah. Or anywhere else. Any like direct question, we might answer it right there and then on the comment section, or we might find that it qualifies for a Q&A.
Yeah. So now we're gonna go to the library here in Cairns and continue our work on the ebook.
Yeah. Finish up the work, wrap it up. We got 3 more weeks almost, and then we're gonna launch the ebook. So that's awesome.
Yeah. Thanks for watching. Post your questions down below. We'll enjoy our day. Hope you will as well. See you around.
See you later.